All right, just on behalf of the iMoot team, just want to thank and welcome Teressa Gibbison from the University of Waikato. Teressa, for those who don't know, has been involved in Moodle forever and knows everything about it. She's just a wonderful expert, and they've also been using Moodle at the university for quite a while. So very much looking forward to your presentation, and I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Shane, and welcome everybody. Thanks for joining me. I know there are some very odd hours happening at the moment, and I hope you cope okay. Today I'm just going to be going over what we've got plugged into Moodle. So, you know, the beauty of Moodle is that there are so many plugins. There are so many different options and configuration settings that you can have. So I'm just going to sort of go over what we've got, a little bit of the background of Moodle at Waikato, and how I cope with all of the additional plugins, and sort of we've got a few core tweaks as well, so I'll talk about that as well. So to start off, a little bit about me. So as Shane said, I've been Moodling for a wee while now. Started in 2004, and I was at the local TAFE or Polytech, and then moved over same town to the university. So I've also worked with HRDNZ, Moodle Partner, and you know, been on the Moodle.org forums and that, so been around for a bit. The University of Waikato introduced Moodle in 2007. We worked with another partner, Catalyst, in Wellington, to get Moodle 1.9 introduced in November. So it was just before 1.9 was officially released, but as we were working with a partner and 1.9 had a lot of features that we needed, we released it on our production site just a wee bit early. In 2011, we upgraded to 2.0, and in 2013, we upgraded to 2.5. And what I'm missing on the bottom of that is that last year we went to 2.7, and this year we'll be going to 3.1. So what we do is we have an annual upgrade to the latest stable in November. And because we're in the Southern Hemisphere, we happen to get the version that's already 6 months old. And that's because it takes us a little while we're a small team, it takes us a little while to make sure that the code is all up to scratch with our requirements. And so the other thing is we always upgrade at the end of the teaching year. So we have 2 main semesters and 2 small summer schools, one at the end of the year and one at the start of the year. So in November, we're just starting our summer school, which is a smaller cohort of staff. So when we upgrade, if it all turns to custard, we've only got a small, you know, cohort that will be affected. But with a bit of luck, all our testing and development and double, triple checking has all gone to plan. So we have, as mentioned, quite a few plugins. So we've got communication modules. So we've got Adobe Connect, similar to Big Blue Button, and we use that for our live classrooms or tutorials. Staff use it for office hours. You know, very similar sort of interface that what we've got here. So you've got the chat module, and Adobe Connect has pods, and you can add things to the web conference room. We also have the dialogue module, which is a very old module in Moodle that we got rewritten in for Moodle 1.9, and that's a private one-to-one communication space between staff, you know, teachers and students, or students and students. So 2 users. It's similar to, I kind of call it a little bit similar to email. The beauty of it is that because it's a module, it belongs with the course. So if there's discussion with the student and the teacher, then that happens inside the course. So we'll just have another quick look at what these look like in depth. So Adobe Connect, this is just a screenshot of what it looks like. The beauty, of course, with our plugins and integration with Moodle is that Moodle does all the hard work in terms of setting up the room and making sure the right people have the right access. So we don't need to, double handle student cohorts into specific areas to make sure they've got the correct rights. And you can download that from the Moodle.org plugins. Of course, it is a paid service, so you do need to get in touch with an Adobe Connect vendor to organise your subscription for that. The dialogue module, as mentioned, is private one-to-one communication. So here I've just got a bit of a screenshot with Lara as the teacher, and you can see here that she's got an individual communication with each of her students. And this is her communication with Miss Piggy, and it's just a date stamped threaded conversation on the page. You can have attachments as well. You can save drafts before you send. Quite similar to email, and because that is within the course, it's backed up as well and archived along with the rest of the learning content. So we recommend that that staff and students use this to, have their course-related communication inside the course rather than via email, which is sometimes quite hard to find later. And you can download that from the Moodle.org plugins area as well. Of course, this is a third-party plugin, so it's not cool. So we have a few blocks as well. The Panopto block. So we've got Panopto was our our lecture capture system, and that's available in all of our teaching rooms. So staff can record their lectures and make them available to students later. Students can also record. So we have some students that are recording presentations for assessment purposes or reflection purposes, and they are stored on our Panopto server. Again, this is a paid-for service, but the Panopto block does, again, all the hard lifting in terms of making sure that the space is created correctly, it's linking to the correct course, and all the right people have all the right access. So anybody with editing access in Moodle gets to be a recorder in Panopto, and anyone who's a student or view access in Moodle is a viewer in Panopto. You can create Dropboxes, which allows the students to create their own individual recordings that only them and the editing staff can see, unless they are moved into the course section of the folder. The new library titles, this is a custom block that we wrote, and that links with our library database. So our library has a feed of all the new books that come in, and they are categorized by topic subject. And so we've got this block that we've developed, and you just choose what subject you want. So I've just randomly added accounting and anthropology because they go together. And so any of the books that are added to the library appear, and that's a link to our library database system. We've also got Explorance, which is part of Blue paper appraisal system, and so that's just an Explorance block that just provides some quick links into our evaluation software. We have Turnitin, so many of you have probably heard of Turnitin, so we've got that plugged in as well as the plagiarism add-on. Now, we don't use the Turnitin to assignment activity. We just use the standard Moodle assignment activity, and so staff can choose to have Turnitin enabled or not on that one assignment. They don't need to specifically choose a separate activity. And of course, the the scores and the link to the report comes back into the Moodle submissions area where all the grading happens. So again, Turnitin's paid for service, so you need to get in touch with Turnitin for that. We have some reports as well. So we've got a student list report, which we created internally. And this was something that we used to have quite a few more tweaks to core. So what we did on the participants list is we added additional information for staff. So we added an additional student email. We added the official student photo. So as you know, in Moodle, staff or users can upload their own photos. Our staff wanted the official student ID photo so that they didn't see a cat or a dog or a beach scene. So we had two photos side by side. And what we did a couple of years ago is we decided to minimize our core Moodle tweaks and create third-party plugins so that they were easier to maintain and didn't touch the core Moodle code. So one of these was the student list, and so this is just grabs the student ID photo, so it's not the preferred photo in Moodle. It has their preferred email as well as our standard university email. It also shows what groups they're in as well. So so that's something that staff can use as their student class list. We also have Hoc Database Queries, which is a third-party plugin that I use all the time for reporting purposes. So this lets you create custom queries, and they just sit within the reports area of your site administration. So this is for administrators, and that can be downloaded via the Moodle plugins area. We've also got the course size report as well, and that's just for our reporting purposes. And so this is just a screenshot of my local host. And that can also be downloaded from the plugins area on Moodle. So we have quite a few Moodle administration additions, and most of these have been created in-house. Actually, all of them have. So the first one is the single sign-on. That's actually not created in-house anymore. We used to have one that was in-house, but now we're using Simple SAML for our single sign-on. We've also got user course and enrollment scripts that happen each night, and we're actually in the process of changing these to be web services, but in the absence of nice web services from our current student management system, we have created scripts that take files and import them into Moodle on a task basis. So the university is exploring replacing the student management system, so I'm really looking forward to having this as web services instead of individual overnight tasks. The bulk meta link is a custom development that we had in-house. It's available on the tracker, and this is actually going to be replaced at the end of the year because Moodle 3.1 has enhanced the bulk meta linkage. So the meta course links prior to 3.1 is an individual thing, so you have to individually add each one at a time. They did improve it slightly by adding a button that says add and link another, so then you search for the second one. But in our one, you search for a term, and you can select more than one course and then link them all together. And this also lets you unlink multiple courses all at once as well, so rather than one at a time. And we needed this because most of our meta courses are 2 papers that are quite similar but have different occurrences. So each of our courses gets an automated course space in our Moodle site, and all the students are automatically added to it. But of course, as you know, the student management system may not reflect what happens in the real world. So we have 2 individual courses, and the students actually are all together in the one teaching room or the one teaching space. So for us, we needed to add those 2 together quite quickly, because it happens quite a lot. So there is a Moodle Tracker there, and as I mentioned, this has been improved for Moodle 3.1, so we'll all have that in core. So some of the other core code tweaks that we've got is the forum snippet, which is something that we had developed when we first brought Moodle in 2007, and that was so that it appeared in a similar way to our old system, which was really just based on a forum. So what this does is it takes a wee snippet of the forum post that a reply has been made to, and it also gives a reference number. So when you're viewing the discussions in a flat view, you can see them in chronological order with a reference number and with the snippet of the reply. So, my preferred method to see where somebody has replied to somebody else is a threaded, nested view. But of course, that can be really unwieldy when you've got lots and lots of replies. So, so this is another nice way of viewing forum threads. We've also got forum anonymous posting. So this is a tracker item that's been around for a long time, and it sort of has different movements within the Moodle community. And what it initially does, or what the initial patch does, is it masks the identity of the user to be anonymous, and you can also choose whether you want the forum to be all anonymous or optional or not at all, and so that just encourages students to be able to post a bit more freely if they know that their name's not associated to something that might be quite a sensitive topic. So again, there is a tracker item for this, and there is work being done on it, but it's a slow process, because rather than just locking it to the forum activity, the plans are to actually have that on a more wider basis, so that we can mask the user's identity in other areas if necessary. And there are lots of use cases for that, but for us, we just use it in the forum because we find that, particularly in areas where students are reflecting on quite personal things, or talking about, situations with their work practices or study practicums, that they don't want to be identified with certain counselling issues or things like that. We've also got a small tweak to the quiz, where all of the feedback for all options is displayed if it's selected in the review option. And that means that when staff are using the quiz for formative, then the students can see all of the different feedback for all of the answers, not just the one they selected. And we've got that on a tracker item as well. Now, we've also got just a really small block of HTML on the gradebook view page for students. So this is just a little message saying, note that your results that display in Moodle are not your official results, and Board of Examiner meetings need to happen, and your final results will be available in the student portal. So this is important for us because not all assessment items are put into Moodle all the time. It's often the case where the final exam for the paper is not put into the gradebook. So what the students are seeing is just the internal results and total. So we needed to put that in there. And we also have customized the notification for the assignment. So this is the email that gets sent out when students submit their assignments, so that the text is a little more, and we've also got the submission status of the assignment here. We do this so that students can use this as a cover sheet if they need to. So they have their name, their ID number, the submission status, and the date and time that they modified, and the documents. It also just has a wee blurb there that says, that this is my work, and it's a similar sort of blurb that is put on the paper cover sheets that students staple to the front when they hand in a hard copy, and so that's a tweak as well. And we've also got advanced group assignment. So we've just got this extra button here which displays all of the students down the left and all of the groups in individual columns, and it means that we can we can add students to multiple groups, or multiple students to a group on the one easy matrix. And so we have this available, and then once you tick all the boxes, you just click submit, and it's all done for you, rather than having to go into each individual group and add the students. And that's available as a tracker item for 1095 if you think that that's nice to have in your course or your site. So now I'm just going to sort of touch on how we manage all these code tweaks and third-party plugins. The first thing is I basically say no to a lot of things. So what happens is, particularly with events like this and local Moodle moots and discussions with other Moodlers from other areas, I have staff that come to me and say, oh, this person's got this fantastic thing and I want it, please put it in. And a lot of the time, if it's just something that's going to benefit the one person or the one area, the answer is no. So we need to make sure that anything we put into Moodle is going to benefit the university as a whole, or the majority of the university. Otherwise, you just end up with far too many things that are basically just helping individuals in sort of scattered areas of the university. We've moved to the theory of having plugins, not tweaks. So as I mentioned, some of our things like the student list is now a plugin. It's a report plugin, not a tweak to core code participants page. So we're trying to do that a lot more, and that just means that if the core code changes significantly, then we're not having to spend too much time trying to get that code working properly again. We use Git as our code tracking, always have done since 2007 at the university, and this is fantastic. And I'm not a programmer by any means. I can sudo read, and our code is controlled by Git. And to be honest, if I can do it, anybody can do it. So there's some pretty basic code Git commands that you need, and that's about it. Just a second. Oh, excuse me. So Git code tracking is brilliant for us, and it means that we can have different branches available to us, and we can be switching between branches. And it means it's a really easy, quick way of firing up a new development site or a new testing site, and we can ensure that when we're pulling the code from one area to another, it's exactly the same code, and it's quick. We use Redmine to track any of our issues or testing. So this is just like in-house things. Moodle's got its Moodle Tracker. We use this for our, queries or requests that our staff have, and also we have our own quality assurance for all of our plugins. So we always make sure that we go through this testing on our development site, and then on a test version of Moodle that we've got, and then on a duplicated version of our production, and then we put it into production. So we use Redmine to sort of track what status each tweak and plugin is at. So we do have a 6-monthly upgrade. Now the one in the middle of the year is just a minor point upgrade. So as I mentioned, the main Moodle upgrade is in November of each year, and that's to the latest stable version of Moodle. And then in June we have just a small point release, and that's because we don't want to freak our staff out in the middle of a teaching year. So we've got users, as you probably do as well, of all different levels, and we don't want to have the system change too much in the middle of the teaching year. I'd really like to upgrade to the latest stable every 6 months, but because there's always really fantastic features coming out, new things happening all the time, and sometimes it's really hard to wait that 6 months to get it into our November version. So but that's our process there, and the things that we've got in. So I'll leave it there. It's just gone past-ish, and so we'll have some time for questions, and then you can have a break. So Shane, what we do is in November of each year we upgrade to that main version. So we'll be going to 3.1 in November. So to be honest, our Moodle upgrades aren't really in sync with Moodle.org anyway, because the version that Moodle releases around November, we just don't have enough time to make sure all of our third-party plugins and all of our tweaks have been checked by then. So that's so we are always sort of 5-6 months behind, but that's actually quite a good thing, because that lets the Moodle community who have got like when 3.1 comes out, stuff, people around the world are going to be grabbing it, testing it. Small tweaks are going to be made, and by the time we get it in November, all those finicky little bugs won't be there anymore. So it kind of works out okay for us. So Maureen, you talked about having the Turnitin plugin and finding it easier for staff and students. That's the Turnitin assignment, are you talking? Or just having the plugin in Moodle being easier to find similarity reports? Okay, so because we have the plugin as well, but we don't use the Turnitin. Oh, okay, so we don't use the Turnitin assignment activity. We integrate, that integration also works with the standard Moodle assignment, and so we just we just have staff use that assignment, and they can use the same marking. The score will still come back into the gradebook. So yeah, and we find that's good because you know, sometimes we have a staff member who creates an assignment, and then it'll be after someone submits that they go, actually, I want this on Turnitin. And so if there were two different assignment activities and they'd created a Moodle assignment instead of a Turnitin assignment, the student would need to then create an extra assignment and have the student submit it there. So So does anyone else want to share some fantastic third-party plugins that they have got? Something that you think I need? I do that too, Shane. I do have some requests. Oh, yes, Nerissa, that's probably good. We've got our students print balances in a different portal. So, yeah, it might be quite good to have something consolidated. We do have a request to have a tutorial attendance sort of plugin. So there's an attendance plugin that I might investigate, and also the progress reports. You know, I want to sort of investigate that a little bit more as well. But I've been encouraging people to use activity completion to see when students have been, you know, meeting certain criteria and finishing things. So, any other questions about what we've got plugged into Moodle? That's a good question, Shane. Turning off core plugins that aren't used. It was something that I did sort of go through a process at one stage, and filters as well that, you know, it just, there were some filters that we sort of thought weren't really getting used and such. But to be honest, I think we've actually got things still all available. So if staff want to use any of the modules, they can use any of the modules. But yeah, I might investigate it again, because the last time I looked, there were some things like hot potatoes and you know, things that people weren't really using. But you know, if it's core, I don't think that that there's any point turning it off, because if it's core Moodle and only one or two people want to use it, then that's fine, because it's always going to be in the core code. So yeah, I don't think we've got any activities that aren't used. Just, you know, like I say, the hot pot's a bit low, but that's about it.
Cool. Hey, Teressa, just on behalf of the team, just wanted to thank you for your time and for your presentation and sharing what you're doing at the university. And yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of takeaways there for us all. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Teressa.